This is Buffy from Buffy's Flavorful Journey. That's a YouTube channel and podcast tailored for vibrant, single women over 50 who relish life's simple pleasures. In today's podcast, I will share my thoughts and lessons learned about life, love, and happiness. And while doing so, hopefully I will offer wisdom and encouragement to the listeners. I am 54 years old, never married, no two-legged children, but I do have 3 dogs, a German Shepherd mix, a Pit Bull mix, and a Siberian Husky. And I have no regrets about never getting married or never having children. I moved around a lot. I've lived in South Carolina, Tennessee, both east and west parts of Tennessee, and in Georgia. Home is back in Indiana. So it would have been rough on children to do all of that moving around, and my support system, in case I needed childcare, that is, was in Indiana. And I am a firm believer that some people are meant to be parents, whereas others, like myself, are not, and thus should not become parents. Kids are like sponges, and they have no filters yet, because life has not beat them down in any way. So children need loving, supportive parents who can nurture them, guide them, discipline them when necessary, and definitely teach them how to become adults. I just didn't have that in me. Now, my childhood, hell, I don't even remember it. Not a lot of it anyway. Does that happen to a lot of people, I wonder? Forgetting their childhood? I don't know. Let me know in the comments. I was raised in a 2-parent home with siblings, and I know my parents loved me, each in their own way. Both have passed on, unfortunately, and I find myself thinking about them a lot now, wishing they were still here to see my successes, but more importantly, just to talk to them and spend some time with them. So first lesson for you youngsters, don't take your parents for granted, because they may be gone someday, and you'll be like me, wishing you had said more to them, asked them about their lives, spent more time with them, and definitely told them that you loved them. Since their passing, I have learned so much about them from their surviving siblings. My aunt on my mother's side and an uncle on my father's side. That if I had known all of this when my parents were alive, I would have understood them so much better and valued them even more than I do now. They both grew up in the Jim Crow era in the South, one in Mississippi and the other in South Carolina. So they saw some things, I'm sure. Things that I can't even imagine experiencing in real life. I've seen them in movies, saw pictures, but never up close and personal. For example, they picked cotton. They saw pigs slaughtered and the pig intestines, hot steam rising from the carcasses, pulled out of the pig and placed in jugs and labeled for sale. Chitlins or chitterlings. That's how they made them back in the day. Didn't try to clean them, wash them, nothing. Just threw them in the little red jugs and said, here, buy them, it's yours. They also saw black men being chased by white men and murdered for the littlest of things. They saw others and themselves being judged solely on the color of their skin, and even being told, you're worthless, you're dumb, and you'll never amount to anything. I know some of this stuff still happens today, but in my opinion, it was more raw, more in your face back then, and it left so many black people feeling so helpless. At least that's what I think. Now, regrets. Yeah, I have some, and I think, unfortunately, that a lot of people do. For me, being too shy growing up, never telling any of my crushes that I was crushing on them, not pursuing accounting as my major in college, always struggling with my weight. I should have just found an activity that I could and would stay with, like walking, and I should have learned how to eat better. Instead, I was going to eat out every day at fast food. Way too much McDonald's back in the day. This is way, way back in the day when those meal deals were $2.99 before tax, $3.17 with tax. Ages ago, I know. And the big regret, not loving myself until I turned 50. That was back in 2019, not so long ago. Finally achieving that was literally and figuratively life-changing and life-affirming for me. That was the single most important event in my life thus far. So by all means, ladies, learn to love yourself as soon as possible. Now let's talk about happiness. Do you want that? Or do you want to be content? Let's define them first before you answer that question. Happiness is often described as an emotional state characterized by feelings of joy, satisfaction, fulfillment, and well-being. It's a more dynamic, often momentary state that can fluctuate frequently. Happiness is typically a response to external circumstances or events. For example, receiving good news, spending time with loved ones, achieving a goal, or enjoying an activity. It is often about the presence of positive emotions and the absence of negative ones. Key characteristics of happiness include 1. Emotional. It's often more about the heart than the head. 2. Reactive. It can be a response to external stimuli or events. 3. Temporary. Happiness can come and go. It's not typically a permanent state. And 4. Energetic. It often comes with a sense of excitement or high energy. Now, being content. That, on the other hand, is more about a lasting sense of satisfaction and acceptance. It is a state of being comfortable, satisfied, and at ease, often regardless of external circumstances. Contentment is not necessarily about experiencing joy or positive excitement. Instead, it's about a deep-seated sense of peace and acceptance with one's life as it is. It's more internally driven and doesn't rely heavily on external factors. Key characteristics of being content include 1. Stable. It's a more consistent, enduring state. 2. Deep-seated. Contentment is more about a sense of inner peace and acceptance. 3. Reflective. It often involves a cognitive process of assessing and accepting one's life circumstances. And 4. Independent. It's less influenced by external events or stimuli. So basically, happiness is about experiencing joy and positive emotions, often as a reaction to external stimuli. But contentment is more about a peaceful, stable state of satisfaction that comes from within. Me, I'm team contentment. And towards the end of 2023, I was there. But I have since let others, basically at work, destroy that and bring me down. So that brings me to my next life lesson. Figure out how to prevent the actions of others to bring you down, to destroy your happiness or your contentment. And please, strive to be content, not just happy. Happiness, while it's a great feeling, it's too dependent on external forces. Whereas contentment, well, hell, that's something you can and should have more control over in your life. Now, let's talk about love. I am sure a lot of you have heard the saying that you have to love yourself before others will love you. And I would add that loving yourself first is a must before anyone will love you the way you deserve. Let me explain that a little bit. In some of my earlier relationships, when I didn't love myself, I settled. I went for guys who I would rank as 3s or 4s on a scale of 1 to 10 because I didn't think much of myself. These were guys with no jobs, or they lived with their mom because they had to, not because their mothers needed any kind of care. And if they had a job, they were not making much, and they had little or no credit. Some even had children from prior relationships, and they were not providing support or even acknowledging that their children were, in fact, their children. Now that I love myself, I see myself as a solid 6 or 7 on that scale. That scale is the PIE scale. P for physical appearance, I for intelligence, and E for emotional stability. Looks, they don't matter as much as they did when I was younger. But I'm going to tell you something. Don't let anyone tell you that looks don't matter at all. They do, and they always will. Intelligence. That's the crucial one for me, as I find intelligence to be the sexiest quality about a person. Then you have emotional stability. Well, I don't know about you, but I don't want a crazy man in my life, you know? Somebody like Fatal Attraction or abusive. I don't need that. Basically, ladies, I'm telling you, I'm advising you, I'm urging you to please learn to love yourself. For me, that's the most important life-affirming love you need in your life. I don't believe you can be loved or that you can even love someone else if you don't love yourself first. And if you want another type of love in your life, for example, from a relationship, then you'll be in a better position to have a successful relationship if you have that self-love first. Now, that's just my opinion. What do you all think? Leave a comment and let me know. Well, I'm trying to keep my initial podcast down to under 15 minutes. We're all busy, I know that. So let me end today's podcast now. I hope you take this time to reflect on your own lives, as self-reflection is crucial to becoming the best version of yourself. And that's something we should all strive for. At least I think so. Now, don't forget to like this podcast, to leave a comment, and subscribe to the Buffy's Flavorful Journey YouTube channel for more uplifting and empowering content via videos and podcast. I also do a lot of baking and cooking on there too. Love you, fam, and all the best to you and yours. Bye for now.